Alright, so this has been asked of me a few times, therefore I decided it's high time I made a proper guide on it that isn't a crappy live stream. So let's get to the case. How do you make liveries for cars in GTA or in other softwares that you can extract OBJ files from? Using Photoshop, that's also important of course. First you gotta find the OBJ file, and in case the Photoshop doesn't recognize it automatically when opening it from the file manager, opening it directly from the software will still work. When you open the file, you will have a set of presets given to you by Photoshop, but don't change any of those, just open the file as it stands. It will probably also ask you whether you want to switch to a 3D workspace, and while it isn't mandatory, it will make your work much more convenient. Once you open the file, it will look something like this. If, like in my case, there are a lot of things included in the file, and thus it's hard to see the fine details, just increase the image's size, and it should improve the resolution when you zoom in. Now in the 3D view at the Layers panel, select all the editable layers, in my case they are called PS3D Default, and while having those selected, at the Properties panel, go to Diffuse option, click on the icon next to it, and either click on the new texture, although this will give you a default canvas, so keep in mind that you will need to edit the canvas's size with that option, or like in my case, select the Replace texture, since I already started working on one. If the texture import was successful, you should see it immediately pop up since the 3D view automatically refreshes, which is very handy for checking your work. When you select the Edit Texture option, it will automatically bring you up the 2D version of the model, but if you select the Replace Texture option, you will need to click on its name in the Layers panel. What you should see now is the object that you just opened, but in a 2D view with all the panels laid out in front of you. Now we can start painting on it. The image that you see on the left will be my reference. I tried to recreate that car's livery for this one. When working with clean shapes, I recommend using the pen tool as it uses vector-based selection, as well as editable polys, which will make your job very convenient to create shapes. When you are checking your work in the 3D view, you can edit the light source to get the shadows out of the way by clicking on the sun icon on the sides of the canvas. When the sphere appears, drag the handle of it until the light makes the relevant part of the object fully visible. Since we are using Photoshop, the layer functionality is a great help here too. Once you have a certain part of the livery ready, you can just create a new layer to work on the next part without interfering with what you have so far. If you can't find where certain panels in a 2D view belong on a 3D model, it's a good method to paint it some vibrant color and then look for it that way. No one is holding you back from recoloring it after you found it anyway. Speaking of recoloring, you can also paint directly on the 3D object itself, although I would advise against it, because it gets really messy with all the overlapping parts and such. Once you painted everything that you wanted, don't forget to switch off the base color that was serving as a background, in my case the white, because if your software has a built-in functionality to recolor your model, it will get overlapped by the background that won't show up. But other than that, you are done. Now you just need to save your file as a PNG and then import it into the software that you are using, which differs a lot depending on what you use, so I won't go into that. I hope you found this useful, have fun painting, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye guys.